I am a demon king. But I don't do what a demon king is supposed to do. While other demon clans are thinking about how to invade humans, I actually let these blood-soaked demons farm the land, and even to make the demon land more fertile, I had them specifically collect fresh olives, and this action completely angered them. Among them, the 4 great demon generals even planned to join forces to strip me of my demon king position. But upon learning all this, I had no intention of changing my mind at all. Only I know, if I lead the demon army to attack humans right now, I would definitely die at the hands of the Pink Heart, because that guy is the ultimate character I personally trained. Originally, was just a standard otaku living in the 21st century. But after dozens of reincarnations, I finally managed to cultivate a max-level, top-tier character, only to be transported to the game world. And the route I was transported on was actually named by me as Pink Heart. I thought I could start an invincible and enjoyable life. But when I saw the flashy appearance I designed, wasn't it just a bit of a complaint? But the next second, the transport route suddenly changed. And the next target was actually the Demon King of the Demon Realm. At this moment, I was transported here by the unfortunate system. I really regret it. I shouldn't have complained about the appearance. At this time, the arrival of the assistant interrupted my thoughts. Report to the Demon King, my lord. Due to the farming order issued, the morale of the Demon Lord's army has plummeted. Internal violence and illegal cannibalism are on the rise. The furious 4 heavenly kings believe the Demon King has weakened, so they plan to work together to take your head. Now my situation has become increasingly difficult. I currently do not have the strength of a Demon King. If those 4 guys join forces, if they see my weak side, I will definitely be slaughtered. Thinking of this, I suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Just now, couldn't be transported to the Pink Heart. Doesn't that mean he is still a corpse now? If that's the case, I change my mind and directly invade humans. But this idea just popped up when the assistant brought the front line's imaging recorder, and the terrifying presence in the image was none other than Pink Heart. How could this guy be resurrected? Could it be that someone logged into their account in reality? I absolutely cannot encounter that guy right now. So I must stop the invasion of humans. In this case, showing weakness will lead to death by the 4 great demon generals. Invading humans will lead to death by the character I created. So, after thinking it over, the way to resolve this predicament is to solve the lack of food. To make this group of demons quiet. Fortunately, studied agriculture at university on Earth, so I have quite a bit of confidence in farming. But reality is cruel. The land of the National Army has not a trace of nutrition. Nitrogen is the same. Nitrogen is an absolutely necessary component for plant growth. But plants cannot directly utilize the nitrogen that makes up 78% of the atmosphere, because nitrogen is bonded by a strong triple bond and hardly participates in chemical reactions. Therefore, humans developed nitrogen fixation methods through chemical processes, greatly increasing food production. But this world has no foundation for any technological industry. So if I want to fix nitrogen in a natural environment, the method is lightning, which oxidizes nitrogen into nitrous acid through instantaneous high voltage. If it mixes with rainwater and is absorbed by the soil, plus the unique magic technique of the Demon King Kletos. This is the ready-made fertile soil technology. So next, I first dismissed the assistant to the side, and then used my magic claws to tear open a few deep wounds. But damn it, this hurts way too much. But just at that moment of pause, I suddenly felt a strange killing intent behind me. It turned out to be the 4 great demon generals spying on me. In that case, this little pain is better than being killed. So I made up my mind to tear open a deep wound. However, the pain that came directly still made me unable to help but let out a cry. And this also led the 4 great demon generals, who had been watching closely, to come right up to me. Our great demon king Kletos, are you feeling unwell? We demons have an unwritten rule. That is, the strong are the demon kings. Hearing this, I was already drenched in cold sweat. These four guys are all top tier strong. And at this moment, I can't use any other skills. However, what I didn't know was my trembling body from fear. In this guy's eyes was a tremble caused by gathering strength before battle. I even felt an incredible sense of oppression. But fortunately, I wasn't the only one rebelling at this moment. With your current strength, do you think you can win against the four of us? As I confidently turned around, I found that this group of despicable guys had already quietly hidden behind the big tree. That guy's lips were clearly expressing that he wanted to see the outcome of the battle first, before deciding whether to join the fight. Truly a despicable tactic only demons could pull off. But before I could react, the assistant beside me directly opened a live broadcast. According to the Demon Clan's 1,000-year tradition, this duel will be live streamed in its entirety. Damn it. I had specifically tested my strength before, but the result was just a subtle feeling. However, before I could react, the Blood Prince Asura charged at me with a long knife. The moment I saw that movement, I thought it should be a stab or slash from a game. How could I, just arriving, dodge such an attack? But the next second, my body surprisingly dodged skillfully. The second step is to point the left foot outward, which indicates a stab is coming. It was exactly the same as the pre-action in the game, and I could even predict all of this guy's movements. It's just that during the game, the first time I saw this guy, I didn't even have the luxury to pray. He not only has a swift rider, but also a wide attack range. But through countless failures, after 128 challenges, I finally managed to defeat him for the first time. And in the following game, I can now play with him effortlessly. That is to say, at this moment I will definitely not be hit by this guy's attacks. And my shout directly stunned the group of demon generals. In their eyes, I am enjoying this moment, roaring at this weak Asura. Little do they know my shout is just a relief that I grasped the key point. Because this world is following the rules of the game. At this moment, a familiar window suddenly popped up. With incredible focus, you successfully avoided all of the enemy's attacks. As a reward, you will unlock some previously used game skills. Target locking function. This is actually the key lock for releasing special skills. In that case, while locking the target, I will use the only attack skill I can use, Tear Hand. As the blood touches the guy, a strong flame envelops my whole body. Then, at the moment the flames extinguish, this guy collapses weakly to the ground. But unlike the cheering demons, I am surprised by his near-death state. This guy took a perfect hit, yet he is still not dead. Moreover, this guy has a passive ability to recover stamina, so he will soon regain his strength. Then I must GS him before he recovers. However, to this group of guys, it seems I am deliberately controlling my firepower, only attacking to the point of not killing him, with the aim of purely inflicting pain. But just then, the system voice sounded again. You violently tore apart Asura's robe, completely exposing him, thus unlocking a new function. Unlocking the equipment slot armor dismantling function. What leaves me speechless is, the equipment slot only contains the outfit I'm wearing. It seems this function is temporarily of no great use. What I need to hurry up and do is deal with the guy in front of me. The problem is, with my current attack power, I can't kill this guy at all. But just then, a thought suddenly popped into my mind. If I face him and continuously use the ripping backhand, that is to say, I can inject a large amount of nitrogen into the ground. At the moment, it seems, this group of guys should be frightened by my actions, so I ordered Hilk to tightly bind this guy. But Hilk thinks it's ridiculous to have a woman tightly bind a naked man. Doesn't that mean wanting to insult both herself and Asura at the same time? After a moment, first prepare a lightning rod. Then, as this guy regains consciousness, use the ripping backhand again. This way, the nitrogen in the air will oxidize into nitrous acid. Immediately, I will also order Harltuk to spread thick fog in this area, thick enough that water droplets can be clearly seen falling. The third style releases thick fog. Finally, use the ripping backhand again. In this way, repeatedly performing the same actions, I can create high-quality soil rich in nitrogen. If I can have a bountiful harvest in the end. Just thinking about this makes me excited. So in the following time, I kept repeating the above actions. The final result was also satisfactory. The nitrogen injection will proceed in this way. Then next is to improve the problem of this single-layer soil structure. This loose, single-layer soil structure cannot allow oxygen to enter, and its drainage is very poor. The soil structure should be like layers of eggshells. Only then is it suitable for farming. So what I need to do now is compost. Therefore, issued another jaw-dropping order. You all go find me some dung. The heavy responsibility upon hearing this immediately showed a look of astonishment. They regarded me as a pure demon king, and even had various thoughts. First, as a precedent, moisten the rebels, then roast and dry them with flames. Finally, apply a disgusting coating. This is simply too cruel. Cruel to the point of being unbearable to look at. At the same time, a pink heart awakening in another part of this world stares blankly at the human city. Although unclear, memories of a past life linger in the mind. It is the umpteenth life. I once moved forward towards a metaphor, following the direction pointed by the hand of my guiding mission. But at this moment, he suddenly disappears. The hand of the mission is not guiding me. Where should I go now? Time returns to not long ago. The three great demon generals assigned by me to collect dung are now gathered together with the speechless expression, "Lord Demon King, let us collect feces. Are we supposed to do it ourselves?" As soon as this thought was spoken, it made the cold ruler Hilk feel extremely disgusted. But Bahar, next to him, had an idea about it. I haven't eaten for a long time, so I can't produce any dung. Upon hearing this, Hilk was once again furious. "You madman! Don't be interested in my dung. Even if I have to poop, I don't want to offer this pile of dung to him." So I ultimately decided to have the low-level demons do the pooping. Thus, for a period of time that followed, a strange scene occurred in the demon army camp. The demon residents being stared at by soldiers have never seen such a scene. The residents said that being stared at by so many people, even the dung they needed to release would retract. At least wait outside. At this moment, Hartak walked in, asking why they were dawdling. No matter how hard they try, they can't get it out, right? Upon hearing this, the resident squatting said, "Their stomach is completely empty, unless they scrape out their intestines." The next second, Hartak thought this was a good idea, and lifted the resident who was trying to poop high up, planning to scrape out the large intestine directly. Fortunately, at this moment, Bahar, who arrived just in time, stopped the action. If you hollow out his stomach, that guy will definitely die. And they can't poop either, so they need to stay alive to keep pooping. This shocked Hartak greatly. "I didn't expect you, with your melon head, to think of this. If I eat your flesh, will this guy poop then?" As the words ended, the momentum of the two suddenly surged. Immediately, they launched fierce attacks at each other. At that moment, I suddenly appeared and used the tearing backhand, instantly knocking both of them to the ground. "You ignorant fools! Is this guy the only one who can poop?" Moments later, inside the demon headquarters, I was still scolding these two idiots. Even if I can collect completely useless poop, what is the point of that? What I need is poop that can be used for composting. I then briefly explained its purpose. Compost is a material that can provide nutrients for farmland. Common compost materials include wood, weed piles, and farmland soil, as well as eggshells and chicken manure. Among them, weed piles and wood ash can be easily solved by dismantling the abandoned houses I just saw. The difficulty lies with the eggshells and chicken manure. At this moment, I suddenly had a flash of inspiration and asked the assistant to bring the map of the demon territory. Fortunately, the map is completely consistent with the game. In that case, I quickly thought of an excellent place to collect. That would be the habitat of the demon seagull. While wandering around the area in the game, these guys will appear at any time. This means they can freely consume delicious food on human territory. Finally, they come back here to poop and lay eggs. This completely meets my requirements. At this moment, the assistant, who realized my intention, seriously reminded me. The habitat of the demon seagull, also known as the cliff of no return, because the cliffs there can easily break, leading to a loss of grip. Once you fall, you will be swept away by the raging waves. Of course, I know what he reminded me of. Because in the game system, players cannot reach that kind of terrain. But I have a unique secret technique. As the scene shifts, we arrived at the habitat of the demon seagull, which left everyone confused. I'm really thinking, since ancient times, many demon clans have challenged again and again to catch that seagull. But in the end, they only became food for the waves. At this moment, I told the 4 people behind me, I will climb to the top later, and then throw the eggshells down. At that time, you all better catch them for me. If this operation can succeed, everyone in the demon clan will have a full meal. Then, under everyone's gaze, I slowly walked towards the cliff. During the game, I experienced countless failures to reach the peak. But in the end, I found that method. First, jump high. Then grab the loose cliff. Then use the equipment unloading feature. While everyone looked confused, I shouted loudly. At that moment, they couldn't believe their eyes, because I had already wedged myself tightly into the cliff. But the back of my head, my arms and smooth butt were still outside the wall. Then I suddenly spun around. This scene made the only witch general panic. However, when I shouted to dress up, I had already put on my clothes, and I was even perfectly wedged against the cliff. So during the next time I repeated, the bare butt dressing again. In no time, I successfully reached the top, and looked down at everyone in a victorious pose. This bug. But it was a method I derived from countless tests, because in the game world, there is a storage window for dismantling equipment, and an air wall that is absolutely unreachable. Considering these facts, I conducted practical tests. As expected, it really worked. At this time, I saw Bahar successfully reach the top. Suddenly, he said he would come help too. Then, before everyone could react, he jumped high and charged towards the cliff. And without the game system, Bahar, how could he possibly climb up normally? Just as I expected, the moment this guy touched the cliff, he fell directly due to the broken wall. Just as he was about to fall into the sea, I instantly grabbed his arm. But this guy was just too heavy, causing my arm to feel like it was going to break. But at that moment, I suddenly thought, why am I saving this guy? After all, to me, he is one of the 4 demon generals. Isn't it better to reduce one threat? But just as I was about to give up on the rescue, I suddenly remembered a good brother I once couldn't lend a hand to. At that time, I was too cowardly, afraid of becoming another isolated person. But now that I think about it, if I could be a little braver, if I could stand up courageously, even do my utmost, perhaps I could still see that brilliant smile. So, under the surge of inexplicable will, I actually threw this guy directly to the peak. Seeing Bahar, who was injured, expressing confusion about my actions. But I felt that, rather than abandoning the guy who followed me and regretting it, it was less painful this way. But just then, the system voice suddenly sounded, even without fully adapting to the state of the Demon King. Krytus's physical body. You have given your all. Therefore, you have obtained Bahar, one of the 4 demon generals. With sincere gratitude, based on this achievement, if you bring a sense of happiness to your demon army, the system will unlock a mechanism to accumulate powerful points. Activate the happiness accumulation system. Before that, after I rescued Bahar from danger, the system granted a new reward, the happiness accumulation system. Next, as long as the demon race feels a sense of happiness, I can accumulate a happiness point. Later, these points can also be used to purchase ability values. Currently, I have only exerted 20% of the Demon King's power. The system requires me to first raise my power to 100%. Then I tentatively clicked to increase my stamina. The result was that the happiness points required by the system were 50. At present, it seems, these prices are a bit more expensive than I expected. But thinking carefully, if I can turn the wasteland into a granary, wouldn't the happiness value be within reach? After that, I can become the King of Kings, and my chances of survival will also increase. I really didn't expect that in this strange world, someone would feel grateful to me. It's actually such a wonderful thing. But my evil expression at this moment made Bahar have delusions. Damn it. His expression is as if he would tear apart anyone who dares to defy him. Sure enough, Krytus is an evil demon king. He really didn't save me for nothing. In the next second, I directly picked up the eggshell and ordered everyone from now on. I want to fill the shell with feces and throw it over. You all better catch it. Well, then I threw the eggshell hard, and the sudden attack left the 3 of them unable to react. They could only stand there dumbfounded, and got covered in seagull droppings. But I was only focused on completing my beautiful dream. The first step in making compost is to collect the seagull droppings, the eggshells, the burned wood ash, and the soil from the fields. Mix them carefully and evenly. Next, for this task, I directly ordered Hilk to do it, because this guy has a lot of tentacles. After transforming, however, upon hearing this, he immediately became furious. The cold ruler Hilk, my tentacles are not for handling dirty feces. But in the next second, I transformed into a demon. If you want to sunbathe like Ashura, then I can fulfill your request. However, as soon as I finished speaking, Hilk went crazy, licking the feces as if he had been injected with adrenaline. Wow, that really startled me just now. Sure enough, when dealing with these hot-tempered guys, one must never let their guard down. Next, I ordered Hartoki to spray mist in the air, but he expressed his displeasure. If that's the case, the smell will become even worse. However, just pointed behind me, and Hartoki immediately flew above the feces. And the final stage is to pile the fertilizer in a dry place and cover it with a quilt made of seagull feathers. But with just these few people, the work efficiency really doesn't meet my requirements. Sure enough, to make fertilizer that can cover this vast land, only a large number of demons can be mobilized, although some parts are quite tricky. But it must be done now, and it must be pushed with the authority of the Demon King. The scene shifts. In a shabby room where the demon residents are, a little demon is weakly lying on the bed. At this moment, he is so hungry that he is on the verge of death. He even asks his father beside him that after he dies, he must eat him. Otherwise, his father might starve to death as well. And this is the crisis facing the entire demon race. They cannot defeat the powerful monsters. The Demon King does not allow them to invade humans. The life they are currently facing is so desperate. However, just then the door suddenly opens. Seeing that the visitor is me, The child's father shouts, "Demon King." The next second, I fiercely state, "This guy seems to still have the strength to talk." Then take him away. Just like that, the two who originally had no desire for life were forcibly torn apart by these demons. The first thing to do now is to prevent cannibalism among the same race. Then order Hartoki to emphasize more labor force as the demon king of the demon race. To achieve my goals, such a degree of dictatorship is necessary. A few days later, the residents at the beginning of the year felt that what they are doing now is too foolish. It's strange for this broken land to be fertile. There aren't even any seeds. What can they plant? At this moment, I suddenly appear behind them. Are you curious about what to plant? Then I let them follow me. A few days ago, while inspecting this wasteland, I accidentally discovered this soil and the wildly growing purple flowers. The demons following behind express, "The roots of this plant are toxic. If accidentally ingested, it may cause severe abdominal pain and even death." Upon hearing this, state, "Anyway, there is nothing else edible on this land." And at this time, the experiment on whether it can be eaten should have been completed. The demon clan looks completely confused about this. However, my next sentence immediately panics him. Because the taster is actually his own daughter, he then rushes wildly in the direction of home, praying that his daughter is okay. When he opens the door, he sees his daughter eating something. But his daughter says that it doesn't hurt after eating this, and her stomach is full. Seeing this scene, he trembles and confirms again, to which the little girl gives an affirmative answer. Just then, I appear behind him again. In the distant past, the people of a certain land also tried to turn that poisonous block into food, and miraculously solved the famine through successful cultivation. And this plant is called the potato. The little girl who saw me immediately became excited. Respected Demon King, actually, bestowing such a blessing upon the humble demon clan. I am truly grateful. In the next moment, the system's light curtain suddenly unfolds. Some of your demon clan members have felt happiness. Happiness points increased by 1 for the first time. I look at the girl who is sincerely grateful. I think to myself, even if he is the demon king, there's no need to always have a stern face, right? Then I reveal that signature devilish smile. This little one just needs to eat her fill and grow up quickly. Hearing this, everyone immediately breaks out in a cold sweat. This won't mean fattening her up and then eating her when she's nice and plump, right? He really is an evil demon king. Before this, after confirming that the little girl can safely taste it, we, having found our direction, began large-scale cultivation. This is also the first step I took to solve the famine of the demon clan. At this moment, I marvel at the greatness of humanity. As long as it looks edible, even if it's poisonous, they can turn it into a delicacy for you. After enduring several weeks of hardships, we finally cultivated potato seedlings. Now, it's time for Bahar to make his appearance. In the next moment, he will leap high, and then aim at the young seedlings, and crush them forcefully with his heel. During these few days, at night, the potatoes are frozen, and during the day, they are thawed, then trampled by Bar's meteor stomp. After these steps, the toxins in the potatoes will be released, and will evaporate directly. Freezing, thawing, stomping, and evaporating. After these repeated processes, they are dried and stored. Finally, slight roasting will turn them into edible wild potatoes. Since all the work has been completed, let's gather those demon clan members who do the hard labor. They should also have a good meal. At this moment, I am still thinking that those guys will eat it very deliciously. When these guys gather, I tell everyone the quantity is limited. Each person can only be allocated 2 for now. Seeing this, the assistant officer is curious. Why not distribute all the potatoes? To this, I express that it's impossible to feed all the demon clan with just these. So the rest must be planted again. 100-fold, 1,000-fold increase. But the demon clan members who can get the potatoes dare not eat. After all, in their understanding, this is poison. Although the girl's father tries to explain that this can be eaten, the demons who haven't witnessed it still can't believe it. Plus, my charming smile makes them even more certain that there must be a trick. But just then, to prove it's real, the little girl's father directly swallows a potato. And just like that, after a brief moment, he suddenly shouts, with tears streaming down his face, "Long live the Demon King." When they confirm that there is indeed no danger, the rest of the people start to gobble up the potatoes. Seeing this scene, the little girl's father gives the Demon King a look of awe. The Demon King really gave us something edible. Immediately after, the members of the agricultural team shout, "Long live Cletos." But hearing this, I feel a strange sensation, like a commercial promoting some kind of medicine. It must be changed. The assistant officer beside me watches my indifferent expression, thinking that I actually created food in a barren land. But with a face that says it's only natural, perhaps it can really prevent the tragedy brought by famine. Just then, the system rewards also arrive. Your Demon King feels happiness from enjoying delicious food. Happiness points 50. This is a decent reward. I can finally strengthen this physical body a bit. But which option to choose is still uncertain. So I ultimately decide to store these points for now. But just as I think about the next plan, the assistant officer beside me suddenly states seriously, "Farmers, listen up. After work, go back and promote this news well. Just say that there is food to eat on this land. For those demon tribes that can dig wild potatoes, I will distribute food vouchers according to the quantity they dig, and promise that they can be exchanged for edible food." This series of statements makes the Demon King beside me feel ashamed. As smart as his handsome appearance, so for a while after this, every demon tribe is diligently dividing their labor. The villagers are earnestly digging potatoes, on one side, producing potatoes that can be eaten immediately, and on the other side, diligently making fertilizer. Of course, as the Demon King, I won't be idle in this atmosphere either. That guy needs to be moved slightly to the left, because I need to work hard to produce the most important nitrogen. Since fertilizer is already sufficient at this stage, it's time to move on to the next stage. We need to evenly mix the fertilizer into the entire land. But this land is just too vast. If we rely solely on the agricultural team to spread the compost, they would be exhausted. It seems we still need to seek outside help. Moments later, return to the main hall, ordering to send a request for assistance to each Star-Lord. The assistant officer reports that the request for assistance has been sent out, and asks them to suspend their expeditions to fully support agriculture. However, there has been no feedback so far. Could it be that the messenger starved on the way? If this continues, the agricultural plan won't be able to continue well. Meanwhile, the ruler of the first district of the demon tribe, the Cliff Pickamil, is reporting to the first city lord, the father of the undead, Abyssator. According to the scout's observations, Demon King Cletos is engaging in agriculture, and has even produced something edible. The father of the undead proudly states upon hearing this, that guy is indeed wary of his own power. As the number of deceased demon undead increases, his own power will also grow stronger. That guy stopping the war, engaging in agriculture, is just a means to limit himself. At this moment, I still don't know about the messenger I sent out. Has already been intercepted and dealt with by this guy. This has also led to other lords being completely unaware of the truce and agriculture. Currently, what he wants is for the demon tribe to starve to death from famine, to become his own army. Then he will replace me as the new Demon King. Immediately, he gives another order to have Pickamil lead a team. to destroy all of my agricultural achievements. The scene shifts. After Picamil arrives in the demon territory, he discovers the sun-scorched Asherato. Indeed, Cleitos is ruthless. After mumbling a few words, he orders the little demons to completely turn this wasteland into ruins. At this time, a little demon discovered what the scout had mentioned: the core compost for farming. Upon hearing this, Picamil felt it was fate to have everyone spread the compost all over the ground. What's even more outrageous is, to prevent us from recovering it, they even mixed it evenly into the deep soil. Asherato, tied to a stake nearby, recalled. Previously, I told the assistant manager that the compost must be mixed into the soil for deep cultivation, but it was impossible to accomplish solely with the farming team. Unaware, Picamil even excitedly shouted, "You're finished, Cleitos!" Asherato, who witnessed the whole process, saw this scene and was utterly speechless. What on earth are these fools trying to do? Not long after, the exhausted little demons were complaining about the endless turning of this broken land. It just went on and on, but in a moment of distraction, they were caught by the other little demons. You better not think about slacking off. As long as there is a small piece of intact land, the demon king Cleitos will reuse it. Meanwhile, another little demon looked at the land they had turned over, and surprisingly, felt a sense of accomplishment. They worked tirelessly to turn the soil, yet were completely unaware that the sun had quietly risen. So much so that at the moment of ascension, they were still comforting themselves, because it was meaningful work. So this result is also good. They even wore happy smiles. In contrast, Picamil saw his subordinates disappearing one by one, could not help but shed tears. "My lovely little ones, you are the best." Meanwhile, in the warehouse storing potatoes, although regretting not being able to plow the fields in time, it would still take quite a while. Here, the current potatoes are in a dormant state and cannot sprout in this land, so planting them would be ineffective. It's like someone suddenly pulled the sleeping potatoes out of the ground. This directly scared the potatoes into a stupor, causing their biological rhythm to stop. After being stored in the current state for 2 to 3 weeks, they need to be moved to a warm, dark place. Although I want to have Shirk inject cold air, that guy is definitely still throwing a tantrum. Beside him, Hartoki also looks like he's about to explode at any moment. If pushed too hard, and they team up, that is not the result I want. To maintain the constant temperature in the warehouse, I also tried to use farm workers, but still couldn't achieve the desired effect. After thinking it over, the only thing I can do now is inject nitrogen into the fields. Come on, let's go check the fields. But when we arrived at the fields, we were surprised to find the soil was not only evenly tilled, but also filled with the smell of fertilizer. Seeing this scene, I marveled that it was simply a miracle. At this moment, Picamil, hiding nearby, saw my expression and thought the plan to ruin the fields was a great success. But the next second, Bahar suddenly appeared behind me. "My lord, this guy is sneaking behind the tree." Hearing this, I turned around and found Bahar holding a skeleton. And this guy is actually a little leader among the undead. "Picamil." I immediately stepped forward and delivered a big punch. Seeing this, the assistant officer was puzzled. Why hit first without asking? The answer is obvious. This guy's expression is trying to hide something. So when you can strike, never talk. The guy who got beaten into a mess still wanted to be tough. But before he could finish his sentence, I followed up with a few combination punches. Before long, I was exhausted. At this moment, the system, unable to watch any longer, reminded me to exchange points for stamina. So I reborn anew, continued to practice my combination punches, even though this guy was already ready to confess. But I still had no intention of stopping. So I revealed the reason while being beaten up. It was Abbasator who ordered us to destroy the farmland, starve everyone to death. This also confirms why the letters sent out received no reply for so long. It turns out these guys were messing around in the middle, and the assistant officer stated that this is outright rebellion. However, as long as we can suppress this undead, not only can we establish authority, but we can also warn other lords. Even if it's not for this reason, if left unchecked, this guy will continue to disrupt the crops. We should completely block the pests. At this moment, the assistant officer asked how to catch him. I thought this guy can transform like a ghost. In the game, he teleports all over the map, causing the levels to be all about hide and seek. Since we can't actively capture him, we need to find a way to lure him out. Meanwhile, the cute little witch held a small shovel, staring blankly at the bound. Little guy, have you never seen a handsome guy? Hearing this, the little witch scratched her head. The plane saluted politely. Thank you for sacrificing so much for us. Thank you for making food production possible. This really angered Pickham. He even pulled out the little strength he had left. You dare to mock me? Do you believe I will swallow you whole? Alive. Seeing this, the little witch got scared and ran away. Just wait and see. Cletos. The moment I break free, I will definitely kill you. But the next second, he was attracted by the sound of drums and gongs. When he saw clearly, he discovered the person was actually the bound Pickamil. The banner even said lightning rod. But upon closer inspection, seeing it said second generation in an instant, he thought, with tears streaming down his face. Like this. Wouldn't I be struck by lightning all day long? Then, I placed Pickamil next to Asherat, and even thoughtfully held an umbrella for him, to prevent this guy from getting sunburned. The next second, I unleashed a tearing attack on the two of them. At this moment, Asherat finally realized. It turns out that it was just transformed into two lightning rods. Familiar bare bottom, familiar outfit. But this time, it was the little ghost of the undead who was shocked. The timeline returns to the demon territory. At the cost of many little Karamis, also completed the request of the father of the undead. But unexpectedly, all of this turned out to be counterproductive, and he himself was captured by the Demon King. At this moment, I was facing the two people on the wooden post, excitedly collecting nitrogen. But this terrifying scene was clearly seen by Abbasator far away at the undead cliff, watching everything clearly. Kratos, you demon! How much pain my poor Pickamil must be in. And at this moment, I have discovered the scouting little ghost in the tree behind me. It seems he has been witnessing all of this. Since that's the case, you old fool, dare to ruin my agricultural plans. I'll make you regret it to the bone. Not long after, the cute little witch is digging the ground with a small shovel. Seeing this, Asherat curiously asked what you were doing. Upon hearing this, the little witch said, the Demon King and the 4 great demon generals are all working hard to farm. And she also wants to help with something. Asherat, however, mocked that you, a lowly demon, are foolish. The guy next to me has already finished plowing the land. If you want to help, do something useful. Upon hearing this, the cute little witch hurriedly stood up respectfully, thanking the barely conscious. You even helped us with the farming. Seeing such a cute little girl expressing gratitude to him, Pickamil was almost moved to ascend. But Asherat, beside him, was still mocking coldly. Farming on this wasteland? Do you think it's possible? Anyway, you will starve to death sooner or later. However, the little witch didn't listen at all. Instead, she happily turned around and left. Watching the little girl's departing figure, Asherat's heart, for the first time, felt a sense of regret. The scene shifts. Inside the Demon King's hall, I and the aide were discussing strategies to deal with the undead. But the aide questioned the tactics I devised. Abbasator clearly knows it's a trap. Would he really come to save Pickamil? To this, I can assert that he would never dare to come in person. He would only send some minions. To make that guy come personally, all the attacking minions must be eliminated. Thus, under my orders, the demon generals were fully armed, waiting for the enemy attack. But through the scouting little ghost, Abbasator, seeing this scene, could only sneer, even mocked these ignorant demons. How could he send soldiers for such a show? What a pity for Kratos. My goal is only one. That is to destroy your farmland. Because he has already sent stone demons to quietly raid the warehouse. As long as all the potatoes are destroyed, everything will come to an end. Little did he know that I had seen through all of this. During the game, the first time encountering these little ghosts, indeed, made me feel despair. Abbasator's second in command, Legion. These little ghosts not only like to swarm together, but once they make contact, they stick tightly. They're even a type that makes players age rapidly. A group of detestable monsters. However, after multiple attempts, I found a way to overcome them, which is to use lightning attribute skills. However, the little ghosts who discovered it was a trap quickly fled without looking back. But they suddenly realized the door and walls were covered in my blood. This is a grand gift I prepared in advance, immediately followed by unleashing the upgraded version of the tearing backhand. The blood quickly spread throughout the entire warehouse. The little ghost army suffered a heavy blow in an instant. At this moment, I suddenly shouted for the agricultural team to enter. Now, physical attacks are effective. In the next second, the agricultural team from all directions launched a fierce attack on the little ghosts. Don't underestimate them just because of their appearance. Don't forget they are all elite monsters from the final map. Looking at the one-sided situation before me, I thought to myself, am I being too ruthless, cold-blooded, and clever? Maybe I'm destined to be a natural demon king. Next up, it was my turn to personally deal with these remaining fish that slipped through the net. But what I never expected in the next second was, the little witch actually poked her head out from the potato pile and was being targeted by a little ghost. Seeing this, the little witch's father immediately panicked. At this moment, I thought to myself that losing one little ghost was no big deal. But my body uncontrollably launched an attack at that guy. Only this distance exceeded the range of the tearing backhand. So, in a moment of desperation, I picked up a potato and threw it at that guy. Although I also felt this action was absurd, the next second, what happened completely caught me off guard. The potato hit the little ghost and actually sucked it clean. Then, upon closer inspection, goodness, the potato that was still sleeping actually sprouted. At this point, I finally realized that the little ghost, capable of aging, was actually activating the potato. The key to the biological clock then. I picked up the little witch buried in the potato and gently expressed that she did a great job. Little cutie. But the girl who saw my expression almost fainted from fright. Immediately stood on the potato pile and ordered the agricultural team to stop the plan to trap Abbasator. Because next up, it was our turn to visit his hometown. At the same time, the sun-baked Asura was already starving to the point of questioning life. This also gave him a new understanding of life. He realized that he still had a desire to live. Just then, the cute little witch arrived on the scene, holding a pot of potatoes. Although the little witch was full of gratitude in her words, the only thing in Asura's eyes was that dry potato. He was already starving to the limit and was about to turn into a zombie. Seeing this, the cute little witch casually picked up a potato from the pot. You look very hungry. Let me feed you. Then she closed her eyes and threw it hard. But unexpectedly, the potato hit Asura's left eye. This drove him into a frenzy. The little witch saw this and said she would definitely hit this time. Let's do it again. She then threw out 3 more potatoes. Fortunately, One successfully landed in Asura's mouth, but the other two unfortunately hit his eyes. Even that furious Asura closed his foul mouth the moment he ate the potato. Because a part of the Demon King's army felt happiness. Happiness points increased by 1. The retained points are 302. This left me a bit confused. It's not mealtime yet. Could it be that some guy stole the potatoes? But since it increased my points, I'll let you go this time. Then I threw away my distractions and shouted at the undead cliff for the agricultural team to attack. At this moment, seeing us coming, the little soldiers on the other side of the bridge actually cut the bridge. They thought this would stop my advance. In the next second, I directly jumped like a frog in place. But before I reached the end, I suddenly fell. This scene made the little ghosts burst into laughter. But that laughter suddenly became strange, because they saw me, bare-bottomed, stuck in the wall. Then I crawled towards them like a ghost, with all my might. My speed was beyond imagination. Moments later, stood at the cave entrance in a victorious pose. Then I slowly turned my head, signaling them to proceed according to plan, while I rushed alone towards the undead lair. But they saw I wasn't carrying the cursed soil. Abby Satyr thought he had already won, and immediately sent ghouls to attack me. But the next second, my actions once again left them dumbfounded. Just as I was about to collide with the little ghost, I dodged and instantly slipped into the wall. Then there was my bare-bottomed outfit. Bare-bottomed outfit. And finally, I climbed directly to the top of the wall. The scene completely stunned the little ghosts. They had never seen such a bizarre way of moving. And after crawling for a moment, I led all the little monsters in the cave to one spot. Seeing me panting, the little ghosts thought I could no longer hold on and rushed towards me. But I confidently stated that I was not the Demon King now, but a veteran player. At the same time, the assistant officer, according to plan, shouted loudly the next second. The members of the agricultural team picked up the potatoes and smashed them wildly. At this moment, I was surrounded by sprouting potatoes. The assistant officer who saw this scene was still half convinced of my plan back then. But the fact is, my strategy hit the mark once again. At this moment, I recalled back in the game. There was a tunnel below the cave entrance. Out of curiosity, I smashed the wall, only to find a hidden treasure chest inside, which contained a potion that could transform players. It was the fruit of ancient giants' thousand-year obsession. Consuming it could temporarily change one's form. Or perhaps this was the embodiment of obsession. If I find it later, I must take it. At this time, the farming team was excited about the sprouting potatoes, and the crowd, overwhelmed with joy, reminded me of my late grandmother. This made the usually abstract me momentarily lose focus. Then, shaking off my distractions, I fiercely declared that anyone who dared to interrupt my meal, I would break their neck. At this moment, Bahar stepped forward. My lord, Abbasator is very powerful. I also want to help you. However, I ordered him to just carry the potatoes, because fighting is something the boss should handle. At this moment, Abbasator still wanted to summon more undead with the heart of ice soul. But he hadn't finished his curse yet. I delivered a deadly series of kicks, and the stunned Abbasator still remembered to ask how I found this place, to which I just coldly laughed and said, "Less nonsense. From this moment on, it's time to eliminate the pests." The little dragon just took a light breath of cold air, but it shocked the 4 great demon generals beside him, because the intense cold air he emitted actually blew away the naturally occurring disaster. You should know, this is the highest level of disaster in the wasteland. Before encountering the little dragon, we had already breached the headquarters of the undead. At this moment, Abbasator was kicked away by me. Nevertheless, he was quite surprised that I could find this place, but seeing that there was no support behind me, he once again displayed his arrogance. He even claimed he would show me his true power. Little did he know about his trump card. I am more than familiar with it. During the game, to hunt down this teleporting guy, I searched the entire cave. During this time, I encountered countless little demons. In the end, almost annihilated that group of guys on the cliff. After, followed this guy to the location of the Heart of Ice Soul. According to the game's records, the Heart of Ice Soul was created by ancient dragons at the cost of their lives. An awe-inspiring artifact. It can use the freezing chill of the frozen soul to trap the dead spirits in reality. This guy tried to use that power to gather more minions, but before that, the game character would arrive, and the final battle would begin. Among them, this guy's most skilled technique is the visible transformation technique. As this guy's soul continues to twist, the next second, he actually transforms into my appearance. He even thought I was the previous Demon King, so he directly copied my attributes and materialized them. But what he never expected was that my attributes are now even worse than a minion. At this moment, Abyssator suddenly lunged at me. Seeing this, I directly used the happiness points in my inventory, increasing my agility attribute by 30%. Then, I simply dodged his attack with a slight sidestep and struck back hard at his abdomen. The stubborn guy wanted to throw another punch at me, but what he didn't know was I had quietly increased my strength to 30%, directly meeting his fist. The result was predictable. The pained guy jumped around in disbelief, even doubting whether his skills had malfunctioned. At this moment, I just disdainfully remarked, "Even an old man wanting to farm needs to use his brain." Having never been looked down upon like this, Abyssator tried to make a final struggle. Unexpectedly, I continued to raise my other attributes a bit more, then simply used the most basic tearing backhand to set this guy ablaze on the spot, even turning him directly into a puddle of mud. At this moment, the system suddenly popped up a growth task. All attributes have been raised by 1 level. As a reward, a new skill is unlocked. Summon the Throne of the Farmer. Throne of the King of Farmers. It comes equipped with various sturdy farming tools. This reward came just in time, as I was short on tools. And at this moment, the transformed Abyssator suddenly began to twist wildly, followed by transforming into the form of an ancient dragon. Little guy, don't get too proud too soon. The ancient dragon is my true form. Seeing this, I could only express my disdain. Seeing it in person is still quite shocking. And this attack power and health bar is no joke at all. But just as my words fell, the allied forces behind me happened to arrive on the scene. With a wicked smile, I questioned Abyssator. "What do you have to say now?" The robust Abyssator instantly transformed from a proud stance into a cowardly bear. "How about we have a civilized chat?" But our farming team won't fall for that. They shouted directly, daring to hinder our farming. "Old man, just accept your fate." Then, showcasing the elite monster's super high combat power, they pinned Abyssator to the ground and attacked fiercely. Seeing this scene, I felt that the old guy not only could move, but could also talk. It feels strange to personally take him down. And now everyone should be too hungry to have much strength, right? Why haven't we finished him off after all this time? So, to be more efficient, I directly summoned a new skill, Throne of the Farmer. Suddenly, a holy light shone from the sky. In the holy light, a throne filled with farming tools slowly descended. In the next second, it suddenly dropped down towards Abyssator. In an instant, it smashed him to ashes. The robust farming team shouted excitedly, "Truly the Demon King." Simply brutal to the extreme, showing no mercy even to those about to die. Indeed, a good example for us small fries. In their excitement, they hoped I would enjoy it with them. Really now? Why do I suddenly feel this group of guys is so cute? And at the same time, far away in the demon realm, Picamere suddenly felt a heat at the back of his head. Then, In a daze, he unexpectedly ascended on the spot. At this moment, the farming land was also fully turned over. The sprouting potatoes were ready. Even the pests threatening the farming were cleared away. Now, it's time to plant the potatoes. Just as I was about to leave, the ice soul heart behind me suddenly made a strange noise. At the same time, the system popped up a notification. In the undead cliff, Abbasator has been killed 20 times. For this, the reward is a hidden event. The ancient dragon sealed within the ice soul heart is about to awaken. Curiously, I slowly walked towards the ice soul heart. Unexpectedly, the next second it opened by itself. Then a cute little dragon poked its head out. This was a creature I had never seen during the game. As for the little dragon, it recognized me as its father at first sight after being born. At this moment, I carefully examined the little guy in my arms, feeling excited. This little creature was exceptionally cute. But when it saw my gentle smile, it couldn't help but doubt if I was its real father. Seeing the little guy, the farming team started to cheer. Let's stew him. I angrily scolded them, you fools. It would be more worthwhile to fatten him up before eating him. Upon hearing this, the little guy's eyes immediately filled with tears. Having finally escaped the dark dragon heart, it unexpectedly found out that its own biological father actually wanted to kill it. Moments later, when we returned to the demon territory, the demons were already here, waiting for our triumphant return. And this heartwarming scene made the little cutie feel that they weren't so scary after all. But when it looked up at me, seeing my gentle expression, it immediately withdrew its previous thoughts. After returning to the Demon King's castle, I was thinking about what to feed the little guy. It is said that young dragons need to eat refined gems. But in this broken place, where would I find those top-notch mineral sources? The little cutie, seeing my expression, was trembling in the corner, definitely waiting for me to grow up. Fortunately, at this moment, the assistant officer came to report, just as you expected. We encountered difficulties during the stacking process. This was within my expectations. To plant crops at the boundaries of rice fields or dry fields, or between sorghum, piling up the soil to form raised mounds of earth. However, to achieve this, it is clearly enough to just have soil, but there are too many stones on this land, leading to the farming team cleaning day and night, which is still far from enough. But to the little cutie, this scene seemed like it was enslaving the slaves, and couldn't help but lament its said dragon life. In contrast, seeing the scene, I only felt that this was not a farmland, but rather mining. If we use all the demon race every day, the potatoes prepared for them will soon be consumed. Even if other lords send reinforcements, it cannot completely change this situation. So I poked the little cutie while feeling frustrated. If only I could summon a character like the protagonist in a comic, someone who can use magic and clear away these stones in an instant. I saw the little witch behind me, a child no bigger than a fart, yet she was working so hard to help. This quickly calmed me down. After all, complaining is useless. I need to think of a way to solve this quickly. However, just then, someone suddenly shouted that the blade storm was coming. I, who had been focused on farming, actually forgot about this. In this wasteland, such blade storms can randomly occur. If one accidentally gets caught in it, they will be shredded in an instant. So I immediately told everyone to quickly hide in a safe place. Like behind the stones, for example. Damn it. I can feel the wind pressure even from this far away. Moreover, this natural disaster is the biggest threat to farming. But then, at this moment, the little witch actually ran in the opposite direction. It turns out, she was trying to rescue the bound Usura. Seeing this, I quickly handed the dragon cub to the little witch's father, and ordered them that if they dared to follow, I would kill whoever came. Ahar was desperately shouting to try to stop me, but I was already sprinting towards the little witch. Even though I knew it was dangerous, I couldn't let my people die like this. Besides, farming is not a leisurely activity. At this point, the little witch had already arrived at the scene, struggling to pull out the wooden stake. The strong Asura urged him to escape quickly, but the little witch ignored him. Fortunately, I arrived just in time, and with a flying kick, I broke the wooden stake. Affected by gravity, Asura was face down towards the ground. Although the aftermath of the blade storm had already caused the little witch's skin to tear, she was still desperately trying to save Asura. At this moment, Asura was shouting to get lost. This is a binding rope that even the 4 great demon generals cannot untie. At this point, I directly picked up the little witch in a waste hole. Then I carried Asura on my shoulder. I sprinted with all my might towards the safe zone. The little cutie who saw this scene thought that her father was clearly not strong, yet he was still desperately trying to save people. Although he looked very scary, I didn't expect he was still a gentle presence. Meanwhile, I was suffering from the effects of the blade scraping, which had already severely injured my body. Even in the next second, exhausted, I could only hold the little witch and collapse weakly. But just then, the little cutie broke free from her restraints and flew towards me at high speed and towards the raging blade, took a deep breath, and then shot out a fierce chill. At this moment, I could feel the power of the blade significantly weaken. Could it be that the cold air weakened the rising airflow? But such a scale of cold air is definitely too much for a young dragon. It must be too much for it. While thinking about this, my consciousness had already blurred, and I fainted. If I could wake up at this moment, I would definitely be shocked by the scene, because these commanders actually defied my orders and charged towards the blade and brought us back to the safe zone. I just exploited a loophole in the game, which left the proud goddess in shock, only because this place is a lady's boudoir. However, instead of being angry, she showed a shy expression the next second. Before this, I had gone through the baptism of the blade and was currently fainting in my own room. But the dim night unexpectedly attracted 2 uninvited guests, Herc and Hartok. These 2 actually wanted to take the opportunity to kill me. Unexpectedly, at the moment they attacked me, they suddenly stopped because they saw me wide-eyed, looking fierce while sleeping. At this moment, they were already a bit timid, but thinking this might be the only chance to strike, they still steeled themselves and made up their minds. But just then, a voice from behind interrupted them. "What are you 2 doing?" The newcomer was none other than Asura and Bahar. "Dare to continue disturbing the Demon King's rest, I will not show mercy." Hearing this, the 2 were instantly speechless, looking at this fierce appearance. "What kind of rest is this?" Then, Hartok curiously asked Asura. As for the one-track-minded Bahar, that's understandable. But why are you standing next to this crazy farmer all day? To this, Asura replied that he was just returning a favor, and maybe next time he would stand with them. Hearing this, Hartok was instantly speechless. Has your brain been kicked by a donkey? Now, planting a potato brings endless trouble. If we fail, everyone will starve to death. At this moment, Asura thought of, even though there was a glimmer of hope, the little witch, who was also working hard in the fields, said that if they didn't want to starve to death, they had to fight for it. Anyway, if we have to fight, I would rather choose to fight to the end. You inferior ones, you will definitely regret it. After leaving this remark, the 2 turned around and left without looking back. Just then, I woke up from my coma. But I didn't expect Asura to be here as well. He just disdainfully said that he was just returning a favor. But the next second, I asked a soul-searching question. Which family's lightning rod runs around everywhere? Upon hearing this, Asura was instantly stunned. Then, The entire castle emitted strange firelight and screams. The scene shifted, and I saw Bahar carrying the unconscious Asura, arriving at the farmland. At this moment, I was anxious. I needed to clear the stones from the soil as soon as possible. But what I never expected was, during my time in a coma, the assistant led everyone, and had already taken care of everything for me. At this time, I asked how so many stones were cleared. He told me to look towards the field. I focused my gaze in the direction he pointed. And lo and behold, it was the little cutie, who had actually eaten all the stones. At this moment, the little cutie thought it was all because she was too small, so she couldn't block the blade. As long as she didn't be picky and ate a lot, she could grow up quickly. At this time, the little one heard her father's call, and seeing that it was me, she directly dove into my arms. At this moment, I thought the blade wouldn't come often, and it would take time for it to grow larger. Moreover, this little guy can monitor from the air. Once the blade is detected, it can dissipate it with cold air. Although it's a bit troublesome, we don't have a weather forecast, so we can only do it this way. Now, everything is ready. Only the formal planting of potatoes is left. In farming, the biggest enemy is natural disasters, followed by financial pressure. These are all difficulties that must be overcome. Meanwhile, in another part of the Demon King's castle, Silk sat at the vanity, slowly taking off her helmet. If I were there, I would definitely be surprised that during the game, her true appearance cannot be seen. Who would have thought she was actually a hidden beauty? However, at this moment, she was extremely frustrated, emitting a foul smell of excrement. Although she had been hiding in the house for a few days without working, she still couldn't dispel this atmosphere. At this moment, my voice came from outside the door. Upon hearing this, he was initially curious about why I was here. But then he stated that he had nothing to say to me. However, I was relentless. We can only communicate properly if we meet. But just as he was angrily planning to reject me, he suddenly saw me stuck at the door in a strange position. This action instantly made him feel extremely ashamed. You madman! How can you barge into a lady's room? Unexpectedly, the next second, I suddenly knelt on one knee. The strong Silk was a bit confused. However, my next words instantly made him blush. Silk, without you, I can't do anything. Little did he know that my actions were merely to save on labor costs, simply because I currently need his sharp and delicate blade. In contrast, after I said this, a wonderful pink hue spread throughout the room. The scene shifted. I brought Silk to where it was stored, the warehouse for sprouting potatoes, and said that planting potatoes requires cutting them in half first. So please help me cut the potatoes. But this sentence instantly made Silk furious. You bastard, Demon King! How dare you play me? But I ignored it and picked up the potato, telling him that the workflow is actually quite simple. Do not cut those with less than 3 eyes. Cut off those with more than 4. Make sure the distribution of eyes is even on both sides. Just as he was still in a daze, I directly picked up the potato. Seeing this scene, Silk hurriedly and angrily stated that he never agreed to help. But I threw the potato directly into the air. Yet Silk, who said he wouldn't help, instantly transformed into a battle maniac and cleanly cut the potato. Seeing this exquisite knife work, I couldn't help but show a surprised expression. The strength of the technique was simply perfect. Indeed, I can't do without you. This made the little girl's face turn red again. But then she suddenly, angrily stated, "Do you think saying a few nice words will win me over? You big liar, scoundrel and deceiver." But the next second, I quickly transformed into a demon, then grabbed her little hand and took out a cloth to wipe the sword clean. Seeing this scene, the little beauty was once again at a loss. At this moment, I somewhat affectionately stated that the potato was muddy. Of course, it needs to be clean. Meanwhile, Silk's heart was pounding like crazy. What is this charming look in his eyes? So sincere, deep, and subtle. Why has my heart suddenly become so chaotic? In contrast, I was only thinking about making it shiny and comfortable. If it's not cleaned properly, it could bring infectious diseases to the potatoes or something. Then, I asked Silk if I could trouble you once more. I really need you. Looking into my deep and sincere eyes, the heart that had long melted. At this moment, there was no longer any previous arrogance. Then I'll help you this once. After all, this foolish big demon king can't do anything by himself. He is completely useless. Hearing this, I excitedly said, that's great. I'll go get water and gauze. Night, we will stay up all night cutting potatoes. Little did I know, at this moment, Hartok was watching this scene. I saw Silk shyly cutting potatoes, while I was singing and wiping the blade. At this time, Hartok only felt. Silk was also a foolish idiot who willingly fell. Actually, volunteering to be a slave for a few compliments. The scene shifted to a who was being sunbaked on a wooden stake. Asura was pondering what life is, and what a lightning rod is. Even anger and his strong recovery ability. But just then, the little witch appeared in view with a basin of potatoes. Uncle Wooden Stake. Let's play the potato toss game. Hearing this, Asura said he wouldn't play with lowly demons, but his mouth honestly opened wide. Hartok, who saw all this from the side, only felt that this bastard was completely hopeless. So foolish that he was being played around. Now, he was completely useless. Just then, I brought the cut potatoes and had everyone start planting. And upon learning that it was Silk who helped cut the potatoes, the members of the farming team all expressed their thanks to him. At this moment, seeing Silk shy to the point of being at a loss, Hartok secretly complained. The dignified 4 great demon generals are actually like this. It's just planting a potato. These guys can even be moved to tears. As powerful demons, don't they feel ashamed? Thus, Hartok made another secret decision in his heart. He must seize this demon king position. At this time, I told everyone that when the potatoes sprout and break the soil, at that time, we will have to handle the eyes. Leave 3-5 sprouts on each potato. Then I asked whether more or fewer sprouts are better. The members of the farming team each expressed their opinions. To this, I directly stated that fewer sprouts are better. However, the crowd was a bit confused upon hearing this. In their understanding, no matter what it is, isn't more always better? But Hartok, who heard it all clearly behind them, could no longer hold back. You bunch of fools, if there are too many sprouts, they will compete for the nutrients from the roots, leading to stunted potato growth. This surprised me a bit. Have you actually learned about farming? But he disdainfully expressed that this kind of common sense actually needs to be learned. The stem sprouts and potato roots are originally connected, sharing nutrients. Isn't that a given? Hearing this, I continued to ask, how many sprouts should be left? Of course, it's 2. Is that even a question? If you only think about saving nutrients and randomly prune the branches, it can easily lead to misjudgment. If you only leave one and accidentally break the main stem, the whole potato plant might die. I really didn't expect this guy to know quite a bit. So I asked again about the relevant knowledge. What do you think we should do next besides removing the eyes? What else do we need to do? He didn't hesitate to answer this question either. Currently, it's the perfect soil improved by humans. This fertile soil will definitely also grow various weeds. So, besides removing the eyes, we also need to regularly weed. This left everyone, including me, stunned. The next second, I led everyone in applause, cheering for the agricultural genius Hartok. Amidst the continuous cheers for the genius, Hartok suddenly remembered his mother, who always called him stupid, and the stark contrast of the current scene brought him to tears. At this moment, I slowly stepped forward, and then firmly announced, Hartok will serve as the chief advisor of the agricultural team. But right now, he only thinks about usurping the throne. But the next second, I suddenly shouted, what are you still doing? Let's pay tribute to the best elite of the demon race. This instantly captivated Hartok, and he expressed that he would follow me closely from now on. Hearing this, the crowd cheered again, and I suddenly received a system notification. You have won 4 psychological games. You have gained insight into Bar's childhood. The trauma of lacking protection successfully trained him to be a loyal subordinate, to establish social relationships for the lonely, Asura, significantly reduced violent tendencies, also melted the frozen heart of Silk, who had never been loved, satisfying Hartok's vanity for recognition. Now, spending 200 points can unlock the new skill Blood Eye. This skill can observe the target individual and certain events within the next 6 hours, whether it's a living being or an inanimate object. Seeing this, I was a bit confused, because this skill doesn't exist in the game at all. But the next second, the system's notification made me widen my eyes. This object even includes the sky. Damn it. Isn't this just a proper weather forecast?